On this week's episode, I'm joined by Pieter IJzerman. Pieter is originally from the Netherlands, but moved to Portugal 20 years ago and never left. We discuss why. Welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. I'm really excited to be joined by Pieter IJzerman. Pieter, how are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's clear to everyone listening this is not a Portuguese surname, IJzerman. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm very much a Dutch man, I guess, and the name is indeed very Dutch. I'm 55 years old. Lived in this country for some 20 years. I have a daughter of 17 that also lives here. She's half Portuguese, half Dutch, and lives here too in Portugal. I work in renewable energies, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I have two companies that I work on. Plus, I help some other companies to start up in Portugal. That's something else I do. I love to sail, and it's quite a good country for sailing, I must say, because we have a wonderful ocean. So I've been doing that since 2001. That's when we bought, together with a Portuguese friend of mine, a yacht here. And since then, we're sailing. I've been a federal sailor. That was a bit difficult because we wanted to create a national championship, and I'm not a national. I'm not Portuguese, but it's the flexibility of the people that said, okay, it's a small national championship. It's not an international class, so there won't be any issues. Let the man be a federal sailor just for this championship, and so that's what happened. Yes,
wonderful.
So it was funny. So, and well, I live in Lisbon, partially, I must say, because we have a house in the south, 130 kilometers southwest at the coast, and so in Melice. And so both of these places are where I spend my time.
Excellent. Okay, so there's a few things to unpack there. We both have teenage daughters, so we need to compare notes sometimes. I'm sure there will be a lot of tears. But
yes.
It's okay.
Yes,
it's good.
I appreciate it. I appreciate any help.
I don't know how much I can help you. I'm not sure how much I can help you. Take us back to the beginning, Pieter. What brought you here 20 years ago to Portugal? What was the thing that first brought you here?
Okay, I was just about to not being a student anymore, had made some money, bought a little van with a friend of mine, and we decided to go to Portugal. It was a mixed work, mixed fun month. And that's where I met my current girlfriend. This was I don't know, 30 something years ago in 1989, 88 or something. And so was when Portugal was entering in the European Union. And I fell in love with that lady. And this is important because for the rest of the history, to understand why did I move here. So we became, she was living in Paris. We stayed together for 2 years, and then we lost track of each other. And then a couple of years later, I called my friends asking them where they were on holidays. And they said, we are in Portugal. I said, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. So I took a plane and went to Lisbon, went out that night and met my current ex-wife, also Portuguese. So it's a bit of a mess. Because now I'm again with the girlfriend that I met 30 years ago, also in Portugal. So as you can see, I had a very strong reason to go to Portugal. And no, I as a child, I always was exploring the neighborhood first, right, as a little boy. And then later on, I went to do bike trips, longer bike trips, traveling more and more. And there was I really wanted to leave the Netherlands one day to explore other countries. I was really curious to see something else than just that flat land with a lot of water and a lot of rain. And so I did. There was a time that everything came together. My ex-wife was with me in the Netherlands when we said, okay, what shall we do next? And the next thing was Portugal. I quit my job and started from scratch in Portugal again. So that's how there was something pulling me to Portugal. I don't believe in coincidence, and I think this was really what it needed to be.
Incredible. Okay, so you might have the most romantic story we have so far on the podcast with these Portuguese women. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Peter, what kept you here? I know. I mean, you came to work. You came with your wife, but I mean, what were besides that? What were the things that kept you in Portugal that have kept you in Portugal for so long?
I think, well, there's a number of factors there. I really like this culture. I really like this culture. I learned the language quite quickly, and language is the strongest culture carrier, let's say. So that means that when you're interested, you can get a better understanding of what this culture is about. And I must say, it's now 20 years and I'm still learning a lot every day. It's not easy. Now I understand when people talk about that have difficulties in understanding other people from other cultures, because it is hard. It is really difficult. This culture is a kind culture. It's a laid back, kind, caring culture in general, and that's of course I like that. I'm Dutch, so I see this from a Dutch perspective, Dutch cultural perspective, where we are a bit very direct, and Portuguese are not direct; they are indirect. In the beginning, I had difficulties with that, especially in management. And now I find Dutch sometimes a bit too direct, because it can be harsh, in my eyes, because now I see it more from the Portuguese culture side. So it's always a perspective that you have, but I find it very pleasant. I find the ocean very pleasant because I'm a sailor. It's blue water, not brown water, like we have in the Netherlands. I like that. I like the weather, and I like the variety in the country's scenery, which is huge. I like the nature here. I like the food, very much so. So yes, there's a number of factors that keep me here. It's not always easy in terms of business-wise, but I don't think that it is like that in any country. So we have to adapt and then go on.
Yeah, I mean, I found for me coming here, you always hear people talk about language and cultural differences until you actually do it. And yes. I'm from South Africa, so there's some very lot of similarities between the Dutch and us. The language is similar as well. And then you come here and it's completely different. And but one thing I found is they really make it easier for us here in Portugal. They like you mentioned, they're very kind and very laid back. And so even though there are these massive cultural differences, it's an easier place to adapt than what I've experienced in other places. Have you had the same experience?
So they are very, they're very, they're very kind. Yes. So yes, they make it easier. Of course, there's differences in culture. So inviting somebody home is something special. That doesn't happen just like that. But that's not only here like that. For instance, I remember a friend of mine who went to the UK and he said, Peter, get me out of here because nobody invites me ever to have a drink at home or something. And he's a nice guy, actually. Yes, the people are super friendly and they make it easy. Of course, the English is a language that is now mostly spoken by everybody. So in the beginning, that helps you to start. But I can recommend everybody to really learn the language wherever you are and going to stay and want to stay. Learn the language because then your life becomes a lot richer. Always, yeah.
I mean, Dutch to Portuguese, it's not an easy change. It's not an easy jump. They're two very, very different languages. But again, similar to the cultural change, I found they make it easy for you here. They're not impatient. They try to help. They really are honored when you try to learn their language. Was it the same experience for you as well?
Yes, absolutely. It is, as you say, they are super kind and friendly, and indeed they have a lot of patience. Yeah, it's really friendly. Yes.
Yeah. How much more do you enjoy the country now that since you started speaking the language, or since you started to get a grasp of the language? How much more do you enjoy Portugal?
Oh, a world opens. It's the humor. They have a really nice sense of humor. It's the culture. It's the incredible richness of the history of this country. Yeah. It's amazing. And then, of course, because the Dutch and the Portuguese, they were sailing together south along the African coast to Asia. And sometimes they got angry with each other, and sometimes they worked together. And so I started to read a little bit, try to find a bit of history of why is it that there's not more blue eyes guys like me walking around here, because the Dutch were here with, I don't know, 5,000 ships. They came down here to Setúbal to pick up salt.
Wow.
Because that's what the Portuguese paid for some of the territories they stayed with in the colonial times, in a deal they made with the Dutch. And they had agreed upon a price, but the Portuguese then didn't have money. They didn't have enough money, gold, so they paid in salt. And so many ships came down to Setúbal, specifically, to pick up that salt. And so I was really like, why is it that there's not more like Dutch-like, featured people walking around here? Because you would say, okay, that might become a mix. I don't know why not. That didn't happen, but those things you find out because you read Portuguese. As those texts I only could find in books that were not translated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really it's quite interesting. So yes, when you speak the language, then of course that allows you also to work better. I can write my own text, and then of course I need to send it to somebody to check it. But it's a world opens to you. It's really nice. Yes.
When your Dutch friends want to come to Portugal, what are some of the things that you do with them and places that you take them?
I do show them. So when we're in Lisbon, I would show them, and I do show them, for instance, to give a little bit of a perspective of history, the richness of the history, like Jerónimos. We go and get a pastel de nata, of course, in Belém. Right now it's harder. Not now, but a year ago it's much harder because there's so many tourists now. So it's more difficult because of the lines. So I would go to if we want to look at nice sceneries nearby. One of the most beautiful ones is in Palmela or up there. to look at the Stubal Bay, and it's beautiful. And if we have time, we go to the other house in Melice, and that shows really the Alentejo and the people there, which became my friends, and the food and the traditions and the singing. It's fantastic. So yeah, they normally really have a marvelous time and want to come back, and they do. Yeah.
So as you know, in Portugal, people will always talk about their terra, their land there. So which one is yours? I mean, you sound like you have two in Portugal.
I have three, actually.
Okay.
And one of them is not a terra. It is the ocean. So because I really spent a lot on the ocean when we had our own yacht, so that is one of them. I spent a lot of time there, and I love that ocean. Then it's Lisbon, really. Lisbon. It's a beautiful city. It's very, very nice. I know that many now complain because it's too full with tourists. Not today, not now, because of the situation we're in, but normally. And yes, that is indeed a reason why we looked for our house a bit outside of the old center, which is what we wanted. We wanted to recover, restore an older building, and that's what we did. We bought in Ajuda. But it's beautiful. It's and it's not stuffed with tourists. It's a good mix, and you have all the shops nearby. Everybody knows it. Right now, the cleaning lady is in the house, and she went to pick up the key at the papeleria, so the
bakery
shop. And she will give it back to there. And if they need to deliver something, it goes to the washing lady next door. Also, either everybody knows it. It's like a little village in a town, so everybody knows each other, and that's lovely. And then the same thing happens in Melice, which is a village. So everybody knows each other. Everybody helps each other. Everybody. So my neighbor is a hunter and a fisherman. So in the summer he's fishing, so he comes back with a lot of fish, and whether we want it or not, we are going to eat fish because he brings it and he leaves it. And in the winter he shoots a boar, and we eat that.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's very, very nice. Yeah. So those three are my terras. Yes, it's amazing. Two of them because of the people and the friends and the really lovely places, and one is the ocean, and that is where I love to be a lot, because I like that sailing on that. I saw whales in front of the coast here. Every time we sail, almost we see dolphins. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's the beauty of the Atlantic.
Yes.
And I mean, I can see why this would be such an inspiration. Obviously, also when you dig into the history, Portugal's history with sailing and exploring is enormous. And for such a small country, we have such a rich history with those things.
It's fantastic. Yes. Really beautiful, really amazing. Yeah. And I only have seen maybe 0.1%, because there's so much to tell, so much stories. So it's beautiful because you can listen to the old, and that's because I speak the language. I can listen to the old people and telling their stories, and there is even stories that you can only listen to because they're not written, and they were never written. I actually, I said to some people in Melice, listen, we really need to start writing down those old stories, because they will get lost if we don't do this. And they did. So they wrote them down, the stories and the poems, the songs, and there's books now with that. So yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Do you want to share a quick story with us?
Oh, I don't know by heart, really. It's mostly love stories, I must say. It's really, and And it's there's positive ones, there's not so positive ones that don't end that well, but really good material, really romantic material, I must say. Yes.
Lots of saudade.
Yes, yeah, true. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Moving on to obviously with the ocean and your love of sailing, this has moved you into an area where you want to be involved in preserving the climate, in preserving the nature and what we have around us. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, so I was working in mostly in software in the beginning of my career.
Okay.
I was born in nature. I was born in the Veluwe in the Netherlands, which is in the middle of the forest. I think I could climb a tree earlier than I was walking. So and I lived there for 6 years in those woods with my family, my mother, father, and my brother. And so I have that feeling for nature, etc. That's where it started. And then we moved to cities, and I developed my career more in software until I was about 32, I think. I started to. It's like that career crisis. I don't know how you would call it, identity career crisis. I don't know. And so I started asking, is this what I want to do the rest of my life? No. So and then I started thinking, and then I came to, let's try to do something that has a bit of a more positive effect on us as a species, staying here on this small, because it's really a small globe. I was discussing this with a project manager that was working with me at the time, a Portuguese one, and he said, I have the same ideas, so let's choose an area in which we want to work and find something that motivates us. And we found one which is biodiesel in this case. And so the biofuels, I must say. This was in 2005 that we started studying it. In 2006, we quit our jobs and created the company, where in the meantime, we had arranged for, 3 or 4 students of one of the best universities to work with us, studied the technology to develop a factory, small factory. And because we really wanted to create 10 small factories in Portugal, biodiesel factories, that would basically contract local people in villages, basically, to work in that factory, to produce that diesel that then would be consumed by local consumers.
Okay.
And that's what we did. We found capital. We did a capital raise there. We found capital for it, and we built the first factory. And that's how I started in the renewable energy and sustainability, basically, in Portugal. And since then, that is my great. I have it as a purpose for myself. Is to whatever I do, I really want to try to help us as a species to have a less of a negative impact on this globe.
When we spoke the first time, you spoke about 2 particular projects that you're doing right now, which sound very exciting. Do you want to just share what those are and what you've been busy with?
Yes. So actually, when we were in the biodiesel, we had identified that the electrical car could become our competitor because they do not slurp diesel or biodiesel in that case. Though we didn't find that risk very big at that moment. I think at that moment, Mr. Musk from Tesla was already thinking about creating his electrical car. and he did in 2010. When we left the biodiesel, I continued in renewable energy, and a friend of mine, which was also a business partner, called me and said, "Listen, we have this idea. Do you want to work with us on charging systems for electrical vehicles? Because there is no good solutions yet, and we need those. Otherwise, we will never have those electric vehicles." Okay. And we did some research. We found that Norway is the country that at this moment 67% of the cars is already electric in Norway. So you basically see less combustion-driven cars there than electric cars. So these guys have a lot of experience with how to do this. And therefore, we chose a Norwegian technology, Zaptec in this case, as a charger to be sold here in Portugal. And so now we represent that brand, and we provide charging solutions for companies, for condominiums, for big garages, etc. in Portugal, and hopefully we go to Spain as well. That's one.
Okay, so just quickly about that. So basically the technology that you're providing here, it means that garages in old buildings, in apartment blocks, shopping centers that previously weren't wired for electric cars can now support that system.
Yes. The issue with electric vehicles is that the buildings, they are not prepared for the charging of those cars. So if you have 100 cars parked in the garage, and everybody wants to charge, and that's what everybody will want to do, when they come home, they come home and they plug it in. The building will not be prepared for that. So it will blow up your fuse box, basically. And this system allows you to look at what is the available energy, electricity, and it will divide it over all those cars. And in the morning, all cars are charged and no fuses blow up, etc. And
then the next one the next thing that you're working on is the product for the boat.
Yes. That was inevitable because as I am a sailor, so per year we throw into the oceans approximately 50,000 tons of chemicals, which come from a paint that we put on the hull of our boats. And I talk about yachts, but also big ships, to avoid mussels and other crustaceans to attach themselves to the hull, which slows down greatly the speed of those vessels. Now, there is a Dutch guy that thought about this. And he found a way, he actually mimicked some nature, to, without any chemicals, create a barrier between the hull and the ocean, which will deter all those little friendly animals to stick to the hull. And that is a product called Vinsolate. It's a Dutch guy, he's an inventor, he patented it worldwide. And when I read about it a year and a half ago in a magazine, I think, I called him up and I said, I was actually on my way to the Netherlands. I said, can we have a meeting because I want to represent your product in Portugal and anywhere else actually, because it's an adhesive product that you stick to the hull of the yacht. It needs to be specialized team that does that, 2 men or women, or but you can't say that anymore in the Netherlands, I think. You can't say men, women. It needs to be people. That you apply it in a day. A 40-footer is a day work, and then it stays for 5 years. You don't need to do anything. That's a great benefit from it. You don't need to do anything anymore for at least 5 years. We have now a yacht that has 6 years or 7 years, and you just clean it by hand, and that's it. So no more every once a year or twice, once in 2 years time, taking out the yacht, cleaning it, and putting on the new anti-fouling. No, you do it once, and probably it will be once in 6 years or something like that. We give a 5-year warranty guarantee,
Okay.
and it's a fantastic. We do more and more yachts now. It's going really well. Yeah, really
So it
nice.
doesn't pollute the ocean, and
No,
it doesn't kill the little animals that
no,
try to attach. So
no.
win-win
They just don't
for
want to
everything.
because it's actually nanofibers, and they stick out a bit. So it's like it's not very comfortable for any animal or to put themselves on it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, really good idea.
Amazing. I mean, we were speaking earlier about the history of Portugal and how there was all this trade going on with Portugal, between Portugal and other countries. You mentioned the Netherlands. We know from history with the British, with the Chinese, with the Arabs, there was all of this collaboration and working together.
Yeah.
As a foreign person who's Portugal is now your home, but you're doing business here, do you find there's this openness to collaborate here in Portugal? It's part of the culture that people are happy to try new things, to listen and work with
Yes.
others.
Yes. Portugal, it's just like the Netherlands, is a small country, so they really need to adapt. Otherwise, they're being eaten by the big countries, let's say. The Portuguese are curious to learn. They like new technology. They like innovation. The spirit of that really, you can see that an organization as what's it called, the Web Summit.
Mm.
They are based now in Portugal permanently. You see, I worked with a company that is the biggest wind turbine producer in the world, that created its first laboratory here in Porto. It's the Portuguese that really bring that company forward in its product development, and so on and so on. I worked a lot in software development, etc. The productivity is the same as in the Netherlands. And I worked with, I don't know if you know those cameras, GoPro.
Yeah.
Well, when they started, I went to the States for another company, and we won the technical support for entire Europe and the States. And it's done from Lisbon still. We started with a team of 30. It's like a call center. I don't like that word because it's really a service center. It's amazing that work. And they really chose us from all the countries that they contacted. They chose Portugal because we have, of course, we have a lot of nationalities living here. That makes it easier because we needed. I needed Italians, Dutch, Brits, French. So I had like 5 nationalities working there, Italians working there, and now I don't know how many there are, but I think it grew like to 200. So yes, it's and there's many companies that come to Portugal to actually outsource their how do you call it, their overhead services to this country, meaning they create the office in Portugal, where from that moment onwards, or in a process, they start to do the processing of salaries, human resources, all that, and this is because the Portuguese are good in receiving these companies. They are curious to learn. They have a very good work mentality, although some people say it's not true. I don't agree.
No.
In general, Portuguese work very hard.
I mean, this is your home now. I've also been here I've been here for 10 years, so I've been here half the time that you have, and I'm incredibly proud of the things that this little country achieves. What makes you proud of Portugal?
I'm here now for 20 years, and just the physical evidence of the change the country has put in place in so little years is amazing. I remember that I was coming to Portugal at the time they were building the expo, and I would, you fly over and you see that they are building it, right? And I was like, they will never have it ready on time, never. It's impossible. And then I would come back the next weekend, and I would look down. It's impossible. It can't be. It won't be ready. At the day they opened, they were not totally ready, but you couldn't see they were not ready because they hid behind big screens, basically, the parts that were not ready. And it became a huge success. So the flexibility of the Portuguese is amazing. I'm proud of that in this sense, because not everybody is like that. Not all cultures are like that. Then there is the development of the international businesses. If I look at the software, there's software companies that build software for I worked for one, for satellites, for NASA. And they do it for 10 years, 12 years already. We have cork that is inside the satellites going around this earth. It's Portuguese cork. And it were the Portuguese with the ideas to use it. We're also, the country is more and more on the cultural map, on the world map. So street art, music, that's an expression of how a country is seen worldwide. Of course, right now, Portugal is seen as one of the best countries to go on holidays to.
Peter, how can people find you online and follow the work that you and your company are doing, those projects we spoke about?
So Shazemo is online at shazemo.com. Hulker is at hulker.eu. And I'm online on LinkedIn, and I update that all the time. So people can find me there and send me an email or contact me there. No problem. I use that as a central. It's the easiest way.
So Shazemo is where people can find out about the electric charging stations. Hull Care is where they can find out about the cover for the boats.
Yes.
And LinkedIn, they can find you.
Exactly.
All right. Good stuff.
For coffee. For the best coffee of the world, by the way.
The best coffee in the world. It's true. It's true. Brilliant. Peter, thank you. A question that we ask all of our guests. Portugal, the simple life. Why?
In Portugal, look for the simple life, as it turns out to be the most beautiful one.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Peter, this has been a wonderful conversation. Good luck with everything going forward. Good luck with all the ventures with the charging station. Thank you for trying to make this world a better place. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
That's a wrap.
So thank you once again to Peter, and thank you to all of you. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, um abraço. Welcome to the simple life.